The Consortium, a fantasy miniature wargame that's so detailed it edges right up against that border with role-playing games. And it's a little hard to understand what it's like to play the game until you play it, because it has the unique property that it's chock full of sliders, of little dials that you can adjust to tailor it to the experience that you're looking for. It really looks like the kind of game that you can cater to your taste. Kind of similar to like a Rangers of Shadow Deep in that regard. Lots of different things you can do with it. Lots of different ways to explore the rule space itself. I've had a little more time to digest the background, and it's interesting. It's sketched out, so it allows you to again, like the rest of like the little sliders, you can tailor it to tastes. If you want to go with a like pure medieval, hey, you could do that. If you want to go with more of an exotic, like desert-based version, kind of a 1001 Arabian Nights, you can do that, right? So that's kind of interesting. We're going to go with just kind of the usual modern day World of War Hammer D&D hodgepodge, whatever I got, all the miniatures, we're just going to throw it all in, make ourselves a little fantasy goulash. But the sketched out setting is that there's this new continent that is being settled by the civilized people. We're going to go beat up the natives, we're going to beat up the locals, and we're going to take their stuff. We're going to claim it for our own. There's probably a fallen empire over there because there's a lot of scattered magic. In fact, the Consortium is essentially a fantasy East India trading company that instead of fighting over the spoils of this new continent, they've gotten together and said, hey, why don't we all work together and share out what we find over there? So there's 4 guilds that you can join. This may be one of the most American games I've played on the past recent years. Just that theme alone just like speaks to who I am at a visceral level. It's really triggering my atavistic impulses on this one. This is who my ancestors are. They find new exotic lands and they improve on them. They make them better by making them more like home, and you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, getting back to the guilds, there's 4 of them, and you don't join one of the guilds. Those 4 guilds have a set of missions that you can select from, or there's 10 of them, so you can roll a d10, or you can work through them as a campaign. And essentially, they amount to 4 different themes of the games that you're going to play, okay? So the first one that we can talk about is the Ministry of Founding. And so these are the people that are essentially the settlers, right? We're going to go out and we're going to go take care of the people that have moved into this dangerous new land. There's the Pursuants. This is the people within the guild. And so this is going to be things like rescue missions. They're received for going on and surviving. They're mostly survival missions here. Sorry for the bump there. We've got the Arcanum Ministorum, which is, why don't you go out and find all the magic loot and bring it back? So we're dealing into the Rangers of Frostgrave kind of mode in that. A lot of go out and recover the stuff and get back alive. And then there's the Artisan Circle, which is kind of a catch-all for everything else. This is really the the East Fantasy Trading Company. These are the guys that, look, put it this way. I just want a home. I just want to be famous. I just want the magic. I just want the money. So these guys are really the merchants. They're the ones that are going out. See, there's the hammer and hammer and the tongs. This is how we go, baby. Hammer and tongs every time. So these will be things like, and we can take a look at these. Cream Monster Mash, All Along the Watchtower, Highway to Hell. One way or another, we didn't start the fire. I think these are probably a theme, but I'm not a music guy, so I couldn't tell you what it is. Standard rewards for going on this mission. Now, the wonky thing about this is they actually tell you what the missions are over here with a little bit of an introduction, and then you got to turn the page to find out exactly like what the rules are. So interesting setup here. It's very similar to what Ash Barker is always talking about with respect to rule books should be written in the order that you encounter the game itself. I don't agree with that necessarily. There is no one way to present the rules, but he wants you to say, okay, get these miniatures, build these stats, here's the mission, here's the post-mission, and that's really the way this rule set is written. I think that's why I'm struggling with it, because I would much rather have things just lay it right out front, man. You want to use this as a reference manual, particularly when you have this much stuff going on. So we go through the mission, and then all of your post-mission kind of campaign play comes next. And that's where it becomes a little bit more like Warhammer Quest, because you've got a little bit of traveling to do, and bad things can happen between your mission and the town. And when you get to the town, you've got an opportunity to have good and bad things happen. Are you going to go try to buy some potions? Are you going to get mugged in the street? Are you going to help widows, little old ladies cross the street so that they get run over by the fancy, posh, selfish, noble cart, right? And if you do, maybe that little old lady is actually a beautiful princess who's been cursed, but she's got whatever. You get the idea. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do, and I want to experience all of it. But before I can, I'm going to need myself a little adventuring party. So today we're going to build ourselves a trio of heroes, and hopefully as I go through and figure out how to put that together, then you will see a little bit deeper into the mysteries of the Consortium. Ooh. As I said, and you're going to hear repeatedly, there's a lot of different dials. And this is one of those dials. Are we going to start with beginner, intermediate, experienced, or epic? And of course, the further along the journey you start, the more build points you're going to have. That's kind of the coin of the realm, although Gilder is also the coin of the realm. This is the amount of resources that you have to buy each of the heroes in your party. And of course, you can have 5, 6, 7. As I said, I'm only having 3 because I'm not using this version of the game. Everybody's going to have 10 build points, 25 Gilder if you're starting as a beginner, and then you get to roll D10 supplies for each. Now, I'm not going to do that. Instead, I am, as I said, going to be using what's called the party mode, where we essentially have one big-time hero with a handful of support staff. And as you can see, for the beginner campaign, little to no experience, not quite sure how the rules work, you're going to get 30 build points and 100 Gilder. In this case, each of the characters that you have starts out at a base of 5 build points. That gives you 2 action dice and 3 build points worth of monstrous and heroic traits. Sidebar. Last episode, I said, "Oh wow, they're giving you heat about whether or not you're going to take some bad things." It's not the there's virtues that you can buy, like weaknesses you can buy, and you get additional build points. Or when you're taking these heroic virtues, and essentially these are like mega power-ups. When you hit 25 build points on your character, you get one of these for free. And if you're a real Chad gamer, then you can take these character flaws. And this is where he's like, hey, if you want to be a disgrace to the Empire, go ahead and choose one. We won't call you anything like a neckbeard or pedicure. I don't even know what that means. But, the fact that they say you can tip your fedora at us on your way out as you choose your... Now, and of course, see, it's a D100 roll, so you can roll these randomly. If you're awesome, you take one of these and you roll it randomly. And if you're like a, limp-wristed gamer, then you pick the one you like or that fits your mode. I don't know, maybe you roll one of those and one of those, just a way to make the game a little bit harder. But you don't get anything for that other than bragging rights. So I don't know if we're going to do that or not. Going back to the cost, what I'm looking at here is if everybody starts off with those 2 action dice, and you get another action die automatically when you hit 25 build points. So if I spent 25 build points, I could have a guy, one figure, with 3 action dice. But I'm not going to do that. So what I'm really going to do is take a look at this and say, on average, I want my guys to have 10 build points apiece and about 33 Gilder to spend. Instead, I think what I'll do, now here's the kicker. All of the little power-ups that you get are going to cost around 3 build points. So if I've already spent 5 of them, then I've already spent half my starting without giving them any abilities whatsoever. So what this tells me is I gotta be really judicious. I'm probably going to buy 1 or 2 power-ups for the supporting staff, and we'll go with a tanky boy, a meat grinder, and then we'll go with a shooty boy, scouty type. So I'm thinking maybe we do an elf, a dwarf, and a man, and our man is going to be a man, baby. He's going to be the wizard. And the reason I want my wizard to be the expensive one is that when it comes to the spells that you select for your wizard, these are crazy expensive. Like, these are the special abilities. It's 3 build points for a +1 to your casting rolls. But a few hours later, and by a few hours, I mean the next day, went through the whole process on camera, figured out who my guys are, couldn't quite figure out a few things. Felt like I was getting something wrong. So we're going to rewind the clock. I'm not even going to show you that half. Just going to walk you through the process, show you how it worked and what the end result is. And here's the kicker. Build points were a real stumbling block for me. There's a passage in here about the difference between build points, cost, traits, equipment. Here's how it works. When you buy your dudes, the first 5 build points give you action dice. In the case of our main hero, it's going to be the wizard, and he's going to be a boom boom wizard. That gives you 3 action dice and 3 build points that you can use for traits. Then every trait that you buy thereafter adds build points, and you use Gilder to buy equipment, which also add build points, but the equipment build points don't count towards the build points that you use for your budget for the guy that you buy right out of the gate. But that's for heroes, but not for hirelings. So the whole thing gets pretty complicated. At the end of the day, understand the first 5 points get you action dice. In the case of our hero, it's 3. In the case of his buddies, the dwarf and the elf, it's going to be 2 action dice for the same price. Our hero gets a couple of other free upgrades. He gets a +1 to his presence, a +1 to his resistance, +1 to his courage as well. So he really is more heroic for the same price. What this means is that the budget that you get, this 30 build points that we're using to build out our party in party mode, is only for that first 5. Okay, so everybody gets 1 3 build point trait. And then you've got 15 points worth of traits left over that you can purchase from. So in our case, I actually started with my dwarf because I knew he was going to be the trickiest as far as the build goes. And if we take a look at the equipment and the stats, we'll kind of go through this. And we'll go through this kind of page by page. I should point out the heroic virtues. I chose a heroic virtue for my big dang hero. And let me just give you some names to make this a little easier. I even grabbed some miniatures overnight while I was sleeping on it and, figuring out where I had made mistakes. This is going to be our wizard here, our boom boom wizard. And I have taken the advice of the Basic Expert. If you don't know the Basic Expert, he's got one of the best D&D channels on YouTube. Go follow the Basic Expert. He wrote an OSR clone called Macahuitl, which is like an Aztec thing. And he said he names all of his wizards after prescription drugs that help you get to sleep. But since this is going to be a fire wizard and I want to give him some healing powers, I said, okay, fire healing. I'm going to name him Dexlin Soprazzoli. And the wife walked in while I was looking up at the name for a good wizard. And she said, wait, are you suffering from heartburn? And I said, well, no, I'm looking for a wizard name. And she said, oh, okay. You worry me sometimes. So that's what husbands are supposed to do. That's our job in life, is to worry you. Anyway, this is going to be our wizard Dexlin. He's going to be a fire healer. And I guess we'll just go down the process of the pages one at a time. And so I said, okay, well, as a fire healer, what kind of wizard do I want to have? And so the heroic trait I took is called Luck. Once per game, and I'm not sure if this is before or after, but when an enemy rolls the dice, remember, it's a D10 based system, and if you get 10s, those count as 2 successes. So if I'm bonking you on the head and I roll a 10 to hit, then I hit you twice. Now you have to defend against 2 hits. Being extraordinarily lucky, heroically lucky, means that Dexlin here can say, no, all of your 10s count as 1s. That they're automatic misses. So once per game, that's going to make them a little more survivable. And then we have these character flaws, and I am gonna wuss out. I'm not going to use any of those because, frankly, I probably won't even remember them. And if you want to give me the business for it, then yeah, please do. I like a game that beats up on me a little bit. I'm not going to use professions. It's more like special abilities and stuff that I'm going to forget. You guys have seen the channel, Well, you can't learn how to play the game. You make so many mistakes. Yeah, but you do better than me. That's fine. Everybody's going to be the same size. I just want medium. Our dwarf, whom I have named Dimly, Dimli. This is him, by the way. He is going to be in the heavy armor. And look at him. There we go. In the blue and orange. He's got the sword. Now he wields that one-handed. That's going to free him up for a torch. That's old Dimly. And then I also have our elf. And our elf I have named Grass Toucher. So Grass Toucher, of course, has the bow. And it looks like he even has a little bit of grass there on his bow. So there he is from the back. Very charismatic. We'll talk more about him here in a little bit. So there's our trio. There's our heroes. And that, by introducing that to you, I can kind of explain. They're all going to be the same size. Dimly is a dwarf, but he's more like a Tolkienian dwarf. He's not like a, the mini-me style dwarf. You get the idea. So Merchant Square, I did buy a couple of torches, and this is where you get this idea. It costs 3 gilder per torch, and it costs 1 build point. But that build point doesn't go against the 30 build points that are in our budget. Nor does the heavy armor that I purchased. This costs 5 build points and 25 gilder. Dimly will be wearing heavy armor. So his maximum move, when we want to move, remember, roll a d10. And the most he can move is going to be 6 inches because he's wearing the heavy armor. But he gets 3 defense dice. So when you hit him, he gets to roll 3 of those dice. And not only does he get to roll 3 dice right out of the gate, but he's got +1 on those rolls. So if he's successful, I think it's I can't remember, but is it like a 5 up or a 6 up? Whatever it is, he's going to get to roll 4 of those every time you whack him. Whereas with the light armor, Grass Toucher is only going to get 1 defense die, but he's going to be a lot faster. His maximum move is 11 inches, which I think means if I roll a 1 through 9, I move 9 inches. If I roll a 10, I can move 11 inches. I think a 10 means you move your max move. So I'm not always going to come into play, but that does mean that our elf is a lot faster. No shields, but I did buy arcane robes for the wizard. And this is important here. -1 max move, so it's going to slow him down a little bit. He's old man, that makes sense. 9-inch maximum move. +1 to resist magic, so if you cast a spell at him, it will protect him. This upkeep die is interesting. We'll talk a little bit more about upkeep when we get to the spells. Then I got to figure out melee weapons. Well, everybody's going to have a hand weapon, except I'm going to buy the arcane staff for our wizard. Cost 15 gilder, 3 build points. Now remember, at this point, I've only spent the 5 build points for the core character. All the rest of these build points come into play later. Where? I'm not sure yet. We haven't gotten there yet. But I think it means that if I spend all my build points on traits, so that's 30, and then I've got another 15 worth of equipment, the real total cost of my warband is 45 build points, even though I only have 30 points worth of traits. And that's tracked on the character sheet, which we'll look at here in a little bit. Big thing is for the arcane staff, it gives me a +1 casting die. So when I cast a spell, I roll my d10, I get a +1 on that die. Then we get to, so here's if you're building monsters, which I haven't done yet. I need to do that, but I need to figure out what scenario we're going to be playing before I do that. So now we're finally able to start looking at these traits. And of course, I've got a melee boy, and I went kind of basic on these just because I haven't played the game a whole lot. So I just went ahead and got him. Like I said, he's got the sword, so no real bonuses there. He is going to be a weapon master, +1 to hit. So when he tries to attack you, and remember, if he's standing in hand-to-hand combat with you, he's got 2 action dice. I can roll twice. I can attack you 2 times. I can attack, if I'm facing 2 attackers, I can attack one and the other. Now, because there's multiple, I'm at -1 on each of those dice. The weapon master, that's his first trait, gives me a +1 to hit. Now, I also took endurance for him. And so these are conveniently enough broken down. The reason I went with weapon master is if I get more build points, I can get a +2 modifier, right? So it costs 3 for the first and then 2. And then here it says, you actually have a +2 modifier with melee attacks. And then when you spend another 7. So these are not cumulative. It's 3 and then another 5 and then another 7. So it gets more and more expensive. +2 to hit and an extra attack die. So right now I only have the 1 attack die. But if I spend another 12 build points, I got 2 attacks at +2. And then, of course, getting to epic it's going to be I think it's going to be a problem, but I don't know how many build points you earn per scenario. I think it depends on the scenario you're playing. So that's him. He's got weapon master, and then we look at the ranged combat, and some of the other things you can get are like precision. Melee attacks have -1 penalty to defense rolls. I attack you. When you do your defense roll, you're at -1. Savage, you may re-roll your melee attack dice once per turn, but you got to re-roll all of them. So all kinds of fun things. There are things like Wild Charge. You gain an extra attack dice. Wilder Charge, you get 2 attack dice when you charge into combat. Some of these are anti-charge. When you're charged, you get a bonus, for example. And then on ranged combat, a lot of these things you've kind of seen before. Gunslinger, you can dual wield pistols. Quick load, if you have something like a crossbow that takes a full action to reload. Yeah, no, it doesn't. Different precision. Combat archer, you can use a ranged weapon while engaged. That's kind of neat. So what I took for our shooty boy is sharpshooter. Gives him a +1 to hit with a ranged weapon, and then that was about it. So like I said, pretty simple for him. And I'll go over the math here shortly. But I did want to show you some of these are a little odd. Combat other, right? Why? Well, I have a +1 to courage rolls. Some monsters, you have to pass a courage roll if you want to engage them in combat. Okay, here you need a +1, right? Set trap. That's not really melee. It's not really missile, but it's a thing you can do that can hurt people. Bully. When making a melee or ranged attack, you have a +1 damage size for modifier for each size category larger than your target. Remember, there's like 6 categories. So an ogre trying to stomp a hobbit 4 sizes larger, he's going to be at +4. Kind of neat, right? And then we have some defensive abilities. Did I take any of these? Oh, I did. I took Cap Up High, and I don't know why it's called that. Capapi. There's a reference there that I'm not getting. You gain +1 defense die when wearing medium or heavy armor. So Dimly, not only does he have the heavy armor for 3 defense dice, with his Cap Up High for 5 build points, he's got 4 defense dice. Good luck getting through all of that stuff. He is going to be a brawler. Speaking of brawler, when engaged by multiple combatants, you suffer no penalty to your defense rolls. Okay, and then you can get really good. If you are engaged by multiple opponents, you get a +1 to your defense rolls and against melee attacks. So this is kind of a, come at me, bro. Ironclad, you may re-roll your defense dice once. All dice must be re-rolled. That's 5 build points. So lots of really interesting options here. And I don't feel guilty about going kind of the basic Betty route. Support, healers, guys that do more healing. Lieutenant, at the end of your activation, you may give 1 free action dice to an ally within 5 inches. Captain, same thing, only powerful. Slippery, when moving into and out of opponent's reach, you have a +2 modifier to your disengage rolls. You can imagine what that means. I don't need to go through it. Movement, I'm probably going to invest in some of these for my archer because he doesn't want to get caught. Leap, you may leap up to 1 inches. Buy it again for a total of 4 points. You can cross 2-inch gaps or obstacles. Parkour master, that's pretty good. Fleet, fast, right, gain a 3-inch free move. So every turn you can move 3 inches. That's outside of the normal action dice. And then we get into the catch-all for things that don't count. Camouflage, you always count as being in obscuring terrain. Charisma, this is what I'm giving to Grass Toucher. Everybody likes elves, don't they? +1 modifier to your presence, and when going out on the town, you may apply your presence modifiers to secondary results roll. What does that mean? I don't know entirely. I can imagine from the context. And I wanted to make sure that I invested in some of these campaign moment bonuses. I am no spring chicken. Most of the guys you hear outside aren't spring chickens either, man. They're getting up in age. Still getting good eggs out of them. Necromunda 1995. The best gang you could get over the long haul was the Van Saar. They had the best upgrades that mostly applied to the campaign game. So regardless of what happened on the table, where everybody else was slowly getting like nickel and dimed and dinged and banged up. And yeah, they were getting stronger in some areas, but they were getting stronger and weaker at the same time. Van Saar, because of the campaign game, they held steady. So where everybody else was going down a little bit, they were able to kind of just start edging up. And over the long haul, they did really good. So I wanted to make sure that I was investing in the downtime activities. We are going to be sending him out to do our shopping for us because he has a little bonus. Again, haven't played the game, operating solely on instinct here. That's it for the traits. So I think we've talked about everything on our support staff. So Grass Toucher here, at the end of the day, let's pause for a moment. We're going to come back to Dexlin and talk about his spell selection. This is my version of the stat block. And of course, in the back, as I've showed you before, there are, forgive me, I'm coming off a pretty nasty bout with a certain illness that we don't like to talk about. This is an example of the character sheets that they give you in the back of the book that you can, permission is free, permission is granted to photocopy for personal use. which I always wonder, if I photocopy that and then show you on my channel, is that still personal use? I don't know. I can't believe Julio and his lovely bride or sister. Let me know, because I feel a little Brandy. I feel a little weird if I keep talking about his lovely bride Brandy and it's his sister, because I think they're from the Midwest. Although, you know, if you're talking about certain cities in the Midwest, Minneapolis, I'm looking at you. The whole, you know what I'm talking about with the bloodline marriages. Anyway, so he's got the light armor, he's got the sword and the bow, and so I don't like this, but let me go over Grass Toucher first. Sharpshooter, charisma. So what does this mean? Well, it cost me 2 build points for the AD, for the action dice. He's got 2 of them. I didn't write that down yet. Let me just go ahead and fill that in. Live on camera. 2 action dice. Every turn you can do 2 things. Max move, 11 inches, right? He doesn't have any free moves yet. If we buy the 3-inch free move every turn, he can move 3 inches every turn. That'll be nice. Okay. Then the traits. The only 2 traits we have are Sharpshooter and Charisma. What this means is he's only worth 6 build points against our budget of 30. However, because we bought the light armor and the bow, the total equipment cost is 3 build points. So he's worth 9 build points altogether, and I wrote down that cost me 15 gilder. Now this matrix up here, I'm not crazy about it, man. There's a total of, let's see, 4 across 5. There's 20 slots here. The X's mean nothing, right? So there is no such thing as distance for defense. Either you're rolling defense or not. The problem I have here is that I've got 20 stat numbers I gotta track. I might rework this to just highlight the most important ones. Everything is 0 except for the range for the bow. He's got a +1 to hit, and then damage and the number of dice he rolls are just like neutral, right? And then on defense dice, what he's defending, he only rolls 1 die. Interesting question here. The robe that Dexlin is wearing does not provide a defense die. Do you always roll 1 defense die, and this is a bonus defense die? Or, alternatively, because he doesn't have any armor, he doesn't get any defense dice. If he gets whacked, he's gonna be hurting. He's gonna be taking some wounds. I'm not sure. We'll answer that question later. Today we're just talking about setting the things up. So that's what Grass Toucher looks like. Pretty simple, pretty cheap. Only 6 build points against my budget. So Dimly the Dwarf. Now again, right, I've got 20 stats here. He's got a +1 to hit melee. He's got 4 defense dice. All 4 of those dice are going to be at +1. That's it. Those are the only 3 real things I need to worry about here. Maximum move is 8 because I bought endurance. Right? So the armor takes him down by 4. The endurance gives him +2 to his max move. So his max move is 8. If I want him to be a really mobile melee guy, I might actually buy that free 3-inch movement for him, because now he's moving up to 11 inches per turn. He's going to get to choose who he fights. What else we got here? We got Courage, Stealth, Search. I don't have any bonuses in those. Why do I have this? It's just more information on the page you don't really need. Presence, resistance to get hit. So remember, some of those penalties, some of those traits, if you're stumpy, if you're gimpy, maybe you're clumsy, you have a +1 when you get hit, or -1 to get hit. It's easier for people to hit you. So, you know, a -1 to get hit is functionally the same as a +1 when the guy is attacking you. So there you go. Weapon Master Endurance, Cap up high, up high? I don't know. Anyway, build points, that's what these numbers are over here. We're looking at 8, 10, 11. Wait, 5, 10, 11. Yep. So if we take a look at our CTE score, the C is, do I have any build points that I haven't spent? Well, no. So we're up to, it was 6 for the elf. Dimly is 11, so we're up to 17. I've got 13 points left. And then 7 build points for the equipment. So all together here, between these guys, we're looking at a total of 30 build points total before we even get to Dexlin. But let's take a look at how spells work. You can buy magical traits. +1 modifier to casting rolls. That could be useful. Potency. You may upkeep a single casting for free. Remember, my robe gives me upkeep, and upkeep is nice because anytime you drop a spell like an area effect spell, like Entangle, or an illusionary spell, or Wall of Fire, at the end of the turn it goes away unless you say, hey, I'm going to spend 1 die to keep that going while I go over here and fulfill my objectives. So it's a low-cost way to keep dominating the field. And I wanted one of those, even though I don't think I really need it yet. I went ahead and bought the ability with an eye towards down the line. Trying to min-max here a little bit. You can buy a familiar. You can cast up to 2 spells per turn for 3 build points. And then you have spell enhancements, making individual spells stronger. You've got damage spells, and this is what I loaded up on. He's a boom mage. We're going to take lesser missile, and we're going to take missiles. So that's a total of 8 points. And I think once you upgrade, there's no sense in keeping the lesser missile. I can target a single figure within 15 inches. They have to defend against an automatic hit. If I cast missile, I got a 20-inch range, and that's max range. I don't think this is like, oh, you know what? I think I can fire up to a total of 60 inches now that I think about it. I'll have to double check that. With missile weapons, that bow has a 10-inch range. If I fire up to 20, I'm at -1, and up to 30, I'm at -2, and then I can't fire beyond that. I think this is a maximum of 20 inches. I don't think I can fire to 40 at a -1, but I'll have to double check that and get back to you guys. By the way, it does 2 automatic hits. Nice. So I got a couple of ranged guys, and we are really going to be leaning heavily on Dimly, aren't we? The other thing I wanted to do was buy these. There's effect spells. Let me just flip to healing spells first, and we'll come back. There is Heal Wound, which has a 10-inch range, and 1 figure gets 1 wound back. But I took Lesser Halo. If I can get to within 3 inches, all of my allies, not me, but if both of my friends are right next door, they each get to heal 1 wound. So I took that one. Maybe not as good an idea because it means I got to get up close and personal with Dimly, which puts him at some risk. But eventually we'll get up to like Halo Mastery. Halo Mastery. I figured some of you video gamer guys, where my gamers at, yo, would appreciate Halo Mastery. All allies within, including yourself, within 10 inches range, remove 4 wounds. Oh, that's pricey, man. But 10-inch range, 4 wounds, it's going to come in handy. If you want to be a necromancer, you've got summoning spells. Support spells give your allies bonuses on defense, on attack, whatever. Hindering spells, this is what I was talking about. Lesser Ensnare. Let's just talk about Ensnare because it's a little bit sexier. 3-inch area of effect template, 20-inch range, entangles all characters. This lasts until the start of your next activation, but can be maintained with upkeep. Right? All characters touching the template have to roll a 6-up to break free. So if they're still in it at the end of the turn, on your next turn, you can keep them in it for just that 1 upkeep die. That's why I have my robes. I bought them for the +1 defense against the dark arts ability. The upkeep die is just gravy, baby. So at the end of the day, what are we looking at? Well, if we look at our little matrix up here, he's got nothing. See, this is just wasted space for me. I don't have anything in there. Except, I guess, the magic defense, maybe? No, that's down here, right? Because that's resistance. So he's going to be moving, max move 9 inches. 3 attack dice, like I said. He's the hero. And then we got the luck, the normal missile, and then the halo. And so that's going to set us back a total of 13 traits. But again, I only have to worry about the 2 for the action dice, and then 8 for the normal missile. Remember, it's 3 for lesser, 5 for the bigger, and then 3 for the lesser halo for a total of 13 points. That puts me right at 30. I got no build points left. But there's another 21 on top of that. So 51 build points. I got 19 Gilder left over, and we are done, and we're ready to go. That is how you build your band of heroes, and I have a nice little mix of shooty, fighty, and spelly, and I think we're just about ready to go. The next order of business is going to be taking a look at the guilds and figuring out which one of those 10, there's 4 guilds, and they each have like an adventure path with 10 possible adventures that you could roll up and roll on. And we'll, of course, because we've got the Magic Boy, we're going to go with the Guild of Wizardry, also known as the Arcanum Ministorum. Again, with the sliders, we talked about this at the start of the video. Tailor the experience to taste. I'm starting off easy because I don't know what I'm doing. And you can see, this is twice I've had to record this video. Same thing might happen when I play out this first scenario. If I am successful at achieving the results of my mission, I will get 1 5 build point scroll. We'll take a look at those when I earn it. You can buy those during downtime on the Magic Street, the alley, Magic Alley. You buy the Magic Alley. Remember, any reward of Group BP goes to heroes only. Each hero may choose to give some of the share to their brothers in arms and hirelings. I think that means that I can just choose. So whatever my rewards are, build point wise, each hero will receive a base Gilder award for going on and surviving the mission. There is an additional Gilder award for successful completion based on the difficulty. The base mission, I'm going to get at least 2 Gilder, and then if I'm successful, I will get 3, and I can prove it. See right there? There's the numbers. Each hero in Brother Arms will also receive a base build point reward for going on and surviving. So for easy, I'm going to get 1 point for the base reward and 1 for the mission success. This is a standard guideline. Now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh man, I wrote on it. We have 10 different missions. So let's just roll to see which one is the one we're going to do. Turning our attention back a few pages, they actually number them. I was looking at the rewards because I want to look a little bit down the road. Makes it a little easier to make your decision. So rolling a d10, I get a 5. We're going to be doing 5 magics. A certain map has come into our possession, says the leader of the Arcanum Ministorum. And we are eager to see if there is any credence to what it implies. Ooh, we get to follow a treasure map. As you know, there are many ancient ruins strewn across this land, and this one may be just a dead husk like many of them are. If it's not, though, much could be learned from whatever magic leaks from the weathered stones. All right, so that's the introduction. Then you have to turn the page and read the actual description. You deploy from the south edge of the board before the beginning of the first turn. There are 5 monster lairs that must be set up 10 inches away from the south edge and 10 inches away from any other lair. One of these is a boss's den, but the monster player may not reveal which lair is the den until it has been triggered. In other words, I'm going to use 5 numbered chips and place them down with the number 1 being the lair and the other 4 being dummies. In addition, there are potential indifferent wandering monsters. Since this is easy, each monster lair will have 25% of the PBP, player build points. For each monster lair depends. And then the boss's den will be 55 and the wandering monster 75. To search for traces of magic, you must first trigger the monster lair or den. Once triggered, each party member may make 1 interact roll with a 10-up base success rate. Each level of arcane lore trait chain may act. I think I have that. That's my +1. That may act as a modifier. So my boss man is going to be successful on a 9 or better. These rolls may not be done while engaged, meaning in combat. If any of the lairs are not found to have traces of magic, the mission is failed. Well, wait a minute. How do we know if it has? Oh, got it. Okay. I have 5 chances to find a trace of magic. When I trigger a monster lair via searching, I roll. So if I don't get a 9 or a 10 on any of those 5 searches, then I fail the mission. So I might go out into the wilds, poke around in a bunch of grubby holes, and go 0 for 5, have to fight a whole bunch of nasty monsters, and still go back empty-handed. So that could be a problem. There's only one way to find out. And I'm going to go ahead and build the monsters. I don't know what we're facing yet. So that'll be there's your little cliffhanger. Tune in next time for the next thrilling adventure of Dexlin Soprazzoli, Grasshopper. I should probably call him Grasshopper. Grass Toucher, the elf, and Dimly the dwarf. Till next time, I'm praying for you.